Welcome y bienvenidos to Presently Aquí, a podcast created just for you, a place to find tools, insights, and a gentle guidance to nurture your self-love journey. Together we'll connect with extraordinary healers from around the world, uncovering their wisdom and unique gifts they share to help us lead healthier, more loving lives beginning with ourselves. And today I have a beautiful guest. Her name is Edith. And Edith Kiss is a holistic mentor, a successful habitual coach, a #1 best-selling author, Humanitarian Award winner, and international speaker. She specializes in guiding individuals from misery to peace within 30 days by integrating ancient healing techniques with neuroscience. Her journey from a 15-year career in petroleum engineering to holistic healing exemplifies her commitment to transformation and personal growth. Hi, Edith. Welcome.
Hi, Claudia. Hi, everybody.
So it's so wonderful to have you. I'm so excited for today's conversation as well. So thank you for gracing us with your energy today and the beautiful things you're going to share with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And Edith's going to introduce us into a small meditation. And if you are driving, please make sure that you do this later when you're home. And if you're not, please sit in a comfortable seated position and prepare yourself.
So this special meditation is really good for the morning. If you do like a morning ritual before you leave your house and then you getting into crowded places or a workplace or somewhere where you will be interacting with people, then this actually highly recommended to practice. So you can start just sitting still and you imagine that a very powerful, beautiful light is coming into your crown chakra. The crown chakra is on the top of your head. This is your seventh main chakra. So a beautiful white light is coming from the universe towards you and entering your crown chakra. And this white light is going down to your toes. And now you can imagine that this white light is filling you up from the toes, your both feet, and then your ankles, and then your legs, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your hips. So it's basically filling you up, your whole body, this beautiful, powerful light. You become the light from inside. You see that you are brightening. So it's going up on your trunk, your belly, your chest, your shoulders, then going down to your fingers as well. And then filling up your arms, both arms, your hands, starting from your hands, and both arms, and then your neck, and then your full head. So you are already filled with this beautiful white light, and then you just imagine that actually you got saturated, and this white light is just flooding out from your crown chakra and covering you. And as it's covering you, it's like a shower. It's covering you down to your feet. And then you create kind of like a protecting shield around you as well. And then you can say that this protecting shield is staying with me even after the meditation. And you can just open your eyes and then you're ready to go.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, that was different from my audience. They never tried that one. So I would love to hear some feedback on this meditation. So let's get right on it. I'm so excited. And thank you again, Edith, for sharing your book with me. It was insightful and right on with all the work that I do as well. So it was wonderful. I couldn't wait for today's recording. So what impressed me the most is your 30-day kind of guarantee, right? Like I can do this in 30 days, right? So for those people that are out there in my audience that are new to your work, right? How do you describe your 30-day method? And what makes it so effective in helping people break emotional and ancestral patterns so quickly?
Yeah, so I created this 30 days incubator after I was having clients for 8 weeks. So
Mm,
my programs used to be 8 weeks.
mm,
And then in these 8 weeks, I guided them through on trauma healing
mm,
and getting rid of like fears, or PTSD, depression.
mm,
And what I realized with them that already at the fourth week, they were already happy, flappy, smiling, and a different person.
mm.
I was like, okay, if they already like on the other side of the situation, then it could be done in 30 days.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, okay, then basically they can go from misery to peace and
Mhm,
harmony in
mhm.
30 days if they follow all of that what I asked them to do, right?
Right.
So what is happening in there is basically in these 30 days, I spend 4 sessions, private sessions with the client, which is 2 hour sessions. And we only focus on those sessions on releasing past traumas. So this could be this lifetime or past lives or between lives, before
Right.
lives.
Right.
So it could be those situations. But why we are doing it is because they have currently certain issues. So they could deal with fear or PTSD or they could have like feeling stuck in their reality or unhappy, grief, divorce, having teenage kids, disturbing teenage kids, whatever it is. So then we actually want to solve that, and that's my
Mm,
promise, is that whatever you come to me with, we're gonna solve it in 30 days, because that's possible. But if we start this healing and then they go through these 30 days, later something
yeah.
else could come up right after the 30 days, but
Of
then it
course.
requires more work. But what they come with to me, usually we cover that in 30 days, even panic attacks as well. So I had
Mhm,
clients who came to me with panic attacks, and in 4 weeks literally she was back to normal and went back to school. And before that she was like crying all day, she couldn't do
mm,
anything, she couldn't go outside, she was like really really on a bad situation. And what else we do as well is I have a meditation library with like a lot of meditation, which not just the samadhi meditation, which brings you into transcendental state and helps with the source memory healing with the private sessions, but also meditations for karmic debt release, for
mm,
ancestral healing,
mm.
ancestral karma, ancestral trauma healing. So that's what actually the client can do themselves at
Right.
home, without me. That's why it's created for them. So I just give them guidance when to do it or how often to do it in the
Mm,
30 days, but they do it themselves. And then there is also a course I created. It's called the Life Transformation System course. It's basically a guidance and then information for them about like, okay, what is vibration? What are chakras? What are ancestral effects? And then what are,
mhm.
how to be more mindful, more positive thinker, how to set your goals. So it's more like a guidance for them. So we don't waste time explaining everything during the sessions when we need to work on the deep releases. Basically, they just go through those training and then they tell me if they have any questions during these 30 days.
I love that. I love that. It really encourages sovereignty. Hmm. Because we always, when we go to, I feel, in my opinion, when we go to therapy, we start to rely on these things, on these people, situations, to help us, right? But you're giving them the option of the sovereignty, right? I can be your guide, which is essentially what we do, but you have to do the work yourself, right? I can't hold your hand. I'm here to tell you that it is possible, and I am proof, right? And my work does work. And you are able to do so. You can go, here's the instructions, follow direction. So it's beautiful because people need that more. They need to implement and understand and believe that they can do it themselves, right?
Yeah, that they have to take responsibility for their own health and
Exactly.
well-being. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. The responsibility and accountability, right? Because if you don't follow instruction, the only person that suffers here is the client, right?
Yeah.
The person, if you work with Eat It, you're the one who will suffer. You will continue with the pattern that you went to her for, right? I want to break this pattern, and you don't follow through. Well, Eat It can't make you, right? No one can make you. It's the same, the old saying of we can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's one of, I think, the deepest challenge as a healer that we come across, right? We love for everyone to heal and go into themselves and love themselves deeply, and we see the beauty in you, but we can't make you, right?
Yeah, and then actually, as they start this process, it's gonna be less and less difficult. It's more effortless because
Hmm.
as they go through the first session and the other session, they
Hmm.
do the healings, they release, they become more liberated and much more easier to become more disciplined about their past because they're gonna raise their vibration more and more, and then more aligned with what they want.
Yes, beautiful. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Very well said. Um, for emotional wounds and ancestral blocks, when they show up in our daily lives, how can we see signs of them? How do we know that we're carrying something that isn't ours, which is an important topic, I feel.
Yeah, so for emotional bonds, which is yours, so I mean, you, and even if it's not, if it's inherited, you still gonna realize it's through patterns, through triggers, like your reactions. You know how you react to triggers,
Mm-hmm.
and how you, what kind of habits you have, what kind of way you behave. That's really a sign, like, okay, if this behavior is disturbing, if it's actually holding me back, self-sabotaging me, then that behavior is not good for me. So then why is it happening to me and how can I stop it? And that's when you need like the deeper healings, and that which can help you to reprogram this part of you, like the beliefs and then the habits and then the way how you react.
Right, right. Okay, very good. Because um, people, what the work you do is I mean, the work that most of us do are not in the mainstream, right? So I love that you have the foundational aspect of this is what these things are, including explaining what ancestral wounds and past lives and such, and the importance of that, right? Because even as you said, even though it is not technically ours from this life, it still carries on if it's inherent, right? If it comes from our
Yeah.
family or generational trauma, um, from that space, um, it's still important to know. I feel that the separateness, right? Because it's kind of like recognizing a pattern that your family's been carrying, and then you've been doing it, and you just realize that you've also been doing it because no one had the awareness to stop it until you
Yeah.
came in to Edith's office and said, "I am recognizing a pattern that is unhealthy in my life. What do I do?"
And
Right?
in the society out there is might even supporting the pattern of my family as
Mm.
well. So it's like even more difficult to recognize
Mhm.
it, or even more difficult
Yes.
to break that pattern because everybody else is doing it or everybody is in that thing.
Yeah.
And then well, it's breaking you, it's making you unhealthy, it's making you, sick. And then it's like, how can I actually go against the whole status quo as well with
Yeah.
this healing process? That's what's
Yeah.
really important to understand. Like, nowadays I see so many posts and so many talk about like regulating the nervous system and this,
Mhm.
and it's just like, it's just a different name they call managing anxiety and stress. That's it.
Mhm.
Like how
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
regulate nervous
Mhm.
system is equals how to manage anxiety and stress. They just came up with this new name now because it
Mhm.
sounds more scientific and it's
Mhm.
like a different thing now. And but they still just doing managing anxiety and stress.
Mhm.
It's still not going into the spiritual and soul level of healing, which is
Yeah.
really important. How what they do with the regulating nervous system is just basically mindfulness and body health, like
Mhm.
basically some breathing techniques, some movements, some
Yeah.
nutrients, and that's it. But basically these are supporting the healing, of course, but it's
Right.
not going to stop the triggers, or it's not going to bring the eventually the peace what we always want. The pattern's going to still return.
Yes.
It's just
Correct.
like maybe you're going to be more resilient to the patterns, or you're going to
Mhm.
be numbing yourself with mindfulness, but it's not going to be the overall happiness or joy, because the challenges and the patterns still going to hit you because the deep healing did not occur.
Okay, correct. And that's what is called patchwork. I call it patchwork, right? Like when we
Yeah,
go to the hospital, right? They patch us up and send us back out, so we come back because they're not healing the deep aspect of why we're sick.
yeah,
So the same idea, right? For the person, and it is funny too, right? All these gimmick words that just start to come out, right,
yeah,
in our community, right? And it's just a selling point at this,
exactly.
right? It's just what it is. Like, oh, I'm going to name it something, so that way it does, attract more people because it sounds like you said scientific, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, and the person usually that's saying, let's say the nervous system, like, oh, I can help your nervous system, um, just got certified, in their work and whatever class they went to take, and never really did their own work, right? Because it's all about embodiment, right? I always talk about, if you're seeking a healer, make sure they are embodying what they do and what they're offering, because anyone nowadays, at least, can go online and certify themselves for some course that they paid for, and now I can help you in your nervous system. So it is unfortunate, and it's an invitation to use discernment, right? When you're looking for a healer, I always talk about that a lot. Um, so I know that you blend neuroscience, mindset work, and energy healing. Can you explain what happens in the brain and in the nervous system when someone begins releasing emotional charge?
So when you get triggered, right? It starts
Mm-hmm.
everything with the triggers. You're going out there, you're doing your things, and then suddenly something makes you sad, angry, disappointed. Maybe you feel like grief, or maybe you lost something. It could be not always person. You can lose something, on the street, or something makes you disappointed or angry or frustrated, and that's the starting point. And when you stay in that emotions, when you stay in that pain, that's what starts the whole negative effects on your body, because we are from water, and the emotions we feel is affecting the water. So the low vibrational and then these low vibrational emotions is not just reacting with our body because of the water thing, but it's also because of the energy centers. So
Right.
the low vibrational emotions start blocking your energy centers, your
Mhm.
chakras. And then when they are blocked, then basically they align with your gland system. So they blocking first the gland system, they affecting the production of the hormones in the gland system. And then they are also start affecting the other uh, organs around the chakras. And then
Mm.
it's different for, like, you can even know what's the wrong with the person by knowing which body part is sick, like what kind of emotions created that. For
Mhm.
example, for the heart chakra, which is like lung disease, heart disease, or chest, cancer or whatever. So those part is like from the heart chakra, it's the grief, the guilt, the shame, the feeling alone or abandoned by my parents, that's causing that situation. The throat chakra, the thyroid issues, like when people has thyroid issues, or even
Mhm.
the something in the jaw, or or
Mm.
or, or even the something in the face, like that, or related to the throat chakra, the
Mm.
teeth. And
Right.
then that's basically if you can't speak up, if you feel pushed or judged or criticized, and you live in a household or you work in an environment when they don't allow you to speak up, then you start developing that situation. So it's basically that's what happens when you get affected by these negative emotions. It's not just your nervous system. It's going to manifest into physical illness after, and
Mhm.
after time.
Mhm.
And what is happens as well, like that's why it's the quick fix comes in, like people saying like
Mhm.
quick fix, like when you go to a Reiki session, then
Right.
uh, deblock they harmonize the
Mhm.
chakras,
Mhm.
right? So you already feel very well, and you already feel much better, which is great, because then the pain is not creating
Mhm.
like, so it's really good to go for a Reiki healing whenever you feel
Mhm.
negative emotions and clear it from your chakras. But again, you need to go back again when you get triggered. You go out again to the street, or you watch a news, or you watch a horror movie, or I don't know what happens in your household, but
Yep.
then you get triggered again, and then you
Yep.
need to go back for another Reiki session,
Right.
right? So if you don't want to do all of this, because I was doing this for 15 years, I was
Mm.
doing 15 years, getting triggered, going back to Reiki sessions, getting triggered,
Mm.
and also learned Reiki eventually, like I became
Mhm.
a master. So getting triggered, doing Reiki, getting triggered, doing Reiki. That was my life. But it didn't work with when, for example, it was already manifested into like bigger illnesses, or some patterns, physical illnesses. It didn't work with that
Right.
either, because then you need like every day a Reiki healing for 6 months to heal that, or like it's a much deeper stuff. And then even needs different other kinds of healings, like maybe quantum healing or other things. But
Mhm.
when I started to use the source memory healing, what's the difference is that you go from the trigger, but you go into the memories, like, why am I getting pissed off because of that situation, or why I am feeling disappointed, why I'm angry because that thing happened. And then when you go into transcendental states through the samadhi meditation, you actually access the unconscious mind, is showing
Mhm.
you what memories you actually first experience these emotions. And then when you release those and heal those and let go of those memories, then basically this trigger will stop. You're gonna get into people were really, when I was first time talking about this, people were like, oh, trigger is never gonna stop. Yes, they're gonna stop. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
like
Yes.
there is no, how are they gonna stop? They're gonna stop in your life.
Right.
There is gonna be lots of triggers out there, but
Mhm.
you're not getting around them somehow. Somehow you
Right.
do something, or just somehow your life, you're not getting around people who's gonna trigger you, or situations, or whatever it is, because of the deep healing you've done is
Right.
affecting, is shifting your whole existence, your whole environment, not just you, because it
Mhm.
don't work. So you don't need to get into the same situation again. So
Right.
it's really powerful. That's why it's
Yeah.
supposed to be done on a deeper level, because
Mhm.
then much easier to, your
Yeah.
life is become smoother and smoother.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And with the triggers, I'll add for people out there, the reason it stops. If you practice mindfulness, you become the observer. So you'll see it before you even react. And you'll start to be like, oh, here it is again. Even though I was dealing with it, why is it coming up? And you sit with reflection, right? Um, versus putting yourself in that reactive situation that's presenting itself, because it will come up, like you're saying, it will come up. And the more you practice and the more healing you do, then you'll just see it and be like, oh yeah, I know this, and move on and won't be bothered, because you did the work. You're healed. You've made peace with it, is what I want to say. You've made peace with that aspect of the trigger, whatever that may be. And
But it's
then
also, as I
mhm,
mentioned, it's also going to disappear from your life. Why is
mhm,
that? It's because, again, the energies is what happens is, like, when you used to see different things, when you used to encounter different things, now your life is shifting to a different place where you're not meeting those kind of people, or you're not watching those kind of things anymore. It's like, basically, as I said, it's changing many things in your life. So I always say to people that only come to this healing, only do this deep healing if you want your life to be changed, because
right,
it's
yeah,
not just gonna be like, okay,
right,
everything's gonna be the same, just you
right,
start with healing. No, it's gonna
right,
shift many things in your life to
right,
make sure that you are in peace.
right, right, because you also start choosing differently, right? You start
Yeah,
to
that's
feel
that's the
different,
thing.
right? You
That's
choose differently. I don't want these type of friends, or I don't want this
exactly
type of job, right? Because most of my podcast guests, I've been like you. They've had corporate jobs and they're like, I don't want that anymore. I want to do this instead. And that's the shift, right? And it's a big
exactly.
shift. And also, disclaimer, you might lose friends. You might stop talking to certain family members. You will, like, it will be the tower moment of tower moments. But what's on the other side is just incredible. A new you, right? A whole new you, a new life that you
Yeah.
get to create the way you want. So it is all the work that Ida is offering is incredible, because that's what if all of you that follow me, it's all I talk about. I'm like, if it's not me, there's so many other beautiful healers that I've interviewed. Please get started, let's go, let's fill this world with love, let's anchor it in more, right? That's really much what we want. Just
Yeah.
anchor that love in yourself, and then you're light, you're full of light, like the meditation we did earlier, and that's what the world needs more of. So I appreciate that. So let's talk about a little bit in your book, The Gap Filler, which I do love this title,
Thank
by the
you.
way. I love this, the Gap Filler Success. It is, the title is remarkable, because I was like, what does she mean? But you know what? Before I ask you this question, explain to our my audience, what does the Gap Filler Success mean? What is the title?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
So
good.
gap filler. So I always considered myself a gap filler because I realized that my current reality is here and then I want to reach my goal. And between here and my goal, there is a gap I need to fill. So it's like I need to fill the gap to get there, right? So the gap filler success means like what actions I need to take to fill the gap to get my success. So that's the gap filler success.
No, it's it's so good, because even as I was reading, I was like, yeah, how do I get to the point that I'm trying to get? What is the gap? And I never saw it as a gap, right? It was just more like steps that I have to do to get
Yes. Yeah.
to from, right, you say from point A to point B, right? So from point A, I'm here, and how do I get to point B? I have steps. But you're like the gap filler. I'm like, oh yeah, that is a different perspective of seeing that that is what I'm trying to do, fill in the gap to get to that other point. And I think that's also the invitation of enjoying the journey of filling in the gap, right? Of like, yes, we want to get to point B from A to B, but in the meantime, enjoy what the now the journey of filling in the gap to get to that point versus rushing to it, right? Like everybody wants to get there, and then when you get to point B, then there becomes point A, and then now there's a new point B, right? So
Yeah.
hmm. So let's talk about the space where we are and where we want to be, right? How do subconscious patterns and unhealed trauma create that gap?
Yeah, so basically when you set a goal, that could be from two ways. Like it could be an intuitive nudge, like, oh, I want to write this book, or I want to travel to a place because I'm called to, or
Mhm.
that's kind of intuitive. Or you see other people what they're doing and you want to copy them, and then you set the same goal what they are,
Right.
right? So it could be those kind of things. And then so basically when you see that, I have a 3P method in my book actually for this. And then this 3P method is when so it's for people who's not that spiritual, right? So I have two parts of the book. The first part is for people who's not that spiritual, they are more
Hmm.
strategic, they more see the things like just steps, right? And then
Right.
the second part of the book is when they more focusing on also on healing and subconscious reprogramming and astrology, numerology, all the other aspects like divine
Mhm.
interventions. That's the second part of the book. So the first part is when I'm talking about the 3P method, is what everybody can implement basically. And in that case, the first P is the positioning. So position yourself close to the fire. Like, for example, like you want to um, you want to publish a book, or you want to be a number one bestseller, let's say that. Then obviously you want to be with people who already that, or who's also want to be a number one bestseller, and you want to make maybe a book together to get
Right.
there, or you want to learn from someone who's already did that several times. So that's how you position yourself. You get into the network, you talk to people, you actually maybe get into someone's book, and so on and so forth. And then comes the second P, is the preparation. Like you need to prepare yourself basically to be eligible to write in a book,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
how are you an author already? Do you know how to
Mhm.
write? Or you need a preparation to get there, right?
Right.
So you can read a lot of books, you can practice to write chapters or whatever. That's the preparation time. And then eventually the push, like when you get the opportunity, when somebody coming to you and say, oh, would you like to be in my book? Then might you start doubting yourself? Might you start saying like, oh, am I really good enough, or should I be in this book? And so then that doubt might even stop you to get your goal,
Right.
because yeah, it's just the belief or whatever it
Right.
is, or the responsibility or whatever is related to that goal is holding you back, and then eventually you can even miss that opportunity. But so then you need a push to, yeah, you need to go anyway, because then
Mm-hmm.
you reach your goal. And then
Mm.
it was a couple of times also in my life, like with the book writing, it was really interesting that how I became a number one best-selling author.
Yeah.
It was like, it was COVID time in 2020, when everybody started to go online, with events. And
Mm-hmm.
Tony Robbins also went on an event online. And then I
Yeah.
was invited there with by a person who I didn't talk later at all. So it was really an interesting thing that probably I just get to know that person to invite me into that group. And then when I was in that group, another person invited me into her group, and that was Forbes
Yeah.
Riley. And then she's an entrepreneur and an actress. And then what happened is that as soon as I got into her group, she mentioned there that who wants to be a number one bestseller with me in my book. And then is you have 24 hours to get registered. And then even before, like a month earlier, I was thinking about to become a number one bestseller with another person. And then I
Right.
was going on a webinar or something. And then but I somehow didn't relate it with that woman that much. I was like,
Mm.
okay, it sounds great. And then it was a bit too expensive. So I was like, okay, I just let it go. And
Right.
then when I went into Forbes Riley's group and then she offered it, she was like, okay, you need to write 2 chapters and register in 24 hours, And I was like, holy shit. So then I was like in 11 p.m. when the kids went to sleep, I started to write my chapters till 2 a.m.,
Mm.
And
Right.
then I looked at my bank account, and the only money I had, it was just the
Right.
money which I had to pay for
Right.
the book registration. And I was like, that was the push, like risking all the money and then
Mm-hmm.
doing the night work, basically. So, and then I did it. And then within 2-3 months, we became a number one bestseller, the book and the group together.
Together.
So that was a great thing. And yeah, it's just, yeah, you need to do those phases. And then the other
Mm.
thing, when we talk about the subconscious reprogramming and the spiritual aspect of it, that's my 5-step method, which is in
Mm.
this part 2 of my book. And in that 5-step method, is the first one is making a conscious decision what you want, because
Right.
sometimes people are lost, they don't even know what they want. And if you don't know what you want, you don't even get anywhere, right? You feel
Right.
stuck. So you
Yeah.
need to make the decision, okay, what I really want. Maybe just losing weight, maybe just eating healthy, maybe just, getting a baby or get married or whatever it is, doesn't matter. Just make that decision what you want. And then
Mm-hmm.
like knowing your subconscious beliefs, is it aligned with that decision? Do you really believe you can do that, or do you believe that's for you? And then also your habits, are those habits actually helping you with that? Like, do you have habits which self-sabotaging what you actually want to achieve? There are
Mm.
so many habits, like maybe you watching Netflix all the time and you're not preparing yourself, or maybe you eating too much, I don't know what, and then it's not helping with your weight loss. So that kind of habits is like can self-sabotage you. So in this case, you need to reprogram the subconscious mind to get it
Mm-hmm.
aligned with the conscious decision, so
Mm-hmm.
that's the second step. And the third step is the emotional trauma release, because we're riding an emotional roller coaster when we're getting triggered, and it's always taking us off track. When we are in bad mood, when we are sad, when we are discouraged, then we stop again, and then we don't follow up with our steps towards the goal. We got distracted because of our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So when you actually do emotional trauma release, you do the healing with the source memory healing, these emotional roller coaster gonna stop, and then you are more smooth on your ride to get to your goal. And then the fourth step is getting aligned with the universe. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically understanding the energies, like the numerological portals, the astrological sign, the portals, like when is retrograde season, when is new
Mm-hmm.
moon, when you can launch something powerful. This is actually right now, it's really funny because we have 5 planets in retrograde.
I
And in
know.
yeah, and like 2 weeks ago when they went into retrograde, like everybody was like, I'm just gonna sleep now, okay? Don't talk to me. So everybody was just like out. And then when the new moon came a couple of days ago, everybody
Mm-hmm.
just started to run.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like it was so funny. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
so insane. Like even me, like there was like a shift in the whole energy with
Yeah.
this powerful new moon. People
Yeah.
started to again waking up and doing stuff. So yeah, this is like a really great shift what we are experiencing right now with this ninth universal year. We're closing
Mm-hmm.
what chapters, and then
Mhm.
getting rid of old things and everything. And then the new year is going to be the first universal year with the horse, with the Chinese zodiac. So it's all
Yeah.
good, everybody. So just
Yes.
relax because next year is gonna be great. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's and then the fifth steps is basically just take inspired actions. Just take
Mhm.
actions,
Mhm.
When you,
Mhm.
for example, the new moon is calling you, just take the action.
Take
Yeah.
action. Yes, no, it's powerful. I love the separation of the book, right? Like, if you are spiritual and inclined to know some of these things and want to get deeper in, this is part of the book. But you can start here. Everybody can start in the first part, right? And then if you feel called to go in the second half, that's, go for it, because basically what Edith's saying, that all these energies, all the celestial energies do affect our energy, right? Just like the moon as a woman, right? It affects our menstrual cycle. So the same idea with all the planets and the moon especially, it does affect. 5 retrogrades, everybody was asleep. It's funny, I was looking at my calendar. You see it right there, my moon calendar, and I write in the planets. And I'm like, okay, when does anything start going direct? And that's Saturn first and Mercury. And I'm like, okay, two of them will go direct at the end of the month, because also the same for me, right? I have other plans, and I know during Mercury retrograde we shouldn't start something new, right? And just rest, restore, revise, just look at it, take it slower, especially with communication, right? We had a hiccup this morning, and so I mean, we're in Mercury retrograde, so I'm not mad. So that's, I feel like, not to blame. It's not to place blame. It's just like, well, the energies are a little slower. So if her and I are having trouble connecting, just have more patience. We'll get there. And we did. We're here, right? We're here recording this wonderful thing. So it's just a beautiful example of what that is. It's more, when you want to get in deeper, of just know what's presented right now energetically. So sometimes, like she was saying, the 5 retrogrades, that may be a moment in time where you do feel stuck, right? You're like, I feel stuck. And you don't know about planets going on retrograde. What does that even mean, right? So having guides helping you understand, well, right now the energies are not really calling for action, right? They're calling for you to rest and just, revise, restore, all the things, all the REs that just take it aback. And if you need to rest, definitely take all the sleep that you can, to get you ready to ramp up for what's coming, right? With the energies, the other doors that are going to open. And yes, I am in agreement, Edith. Next year is going to be powerful. If you're doing your healing work, that's also, I think, part of, our mission is to get you ready, so that way you're in this receiving mode of what you deserve, all the wonderful, beautiful things in life that it has to offer you. It's never always being about, right? When we're stuck in our patterns, things are always like this and never works out for me. The way we speak over our lives, right? That's also important. How we speak over our lives is an important aspect to pay attention to. Talking to self, what you
Yeah.
say. So all these beautiful things that you've put and encompassed in the book, very well manicured and tailored as a guide itself. So I really loved the way you put it all together. It was really well done. So congrats on being number one best-selling author, because it's really, even again, the title, and then everything that you've worked towards to putting in here. And I did have a question about being stuck, and you already answered it. So I was like, perfect, for everyone out there that has that question, right? Because it's always like, "Oh, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what." It's always just getting to know self is the starting point, even if you don't know what to do with the life that you're given. Getting
You
to know
know,
self.
Samadhi
Mhm.
meditation helps with this a lot because in Samadhi meditation, you clean your chakras and you
Mhm.
activate your pineal gland. So you activate your third eye. So you get more intuitive
Mhm.
things, and then you start seeing
Yeah.
your vision, you start
Mhm.
seeing your purpose,
Mhm.
and then you trust
Mhm.
the process more. And then it's basically also takes your worry away of the future and the
Mhm.
fear. So when someone feels stuck, it's usually because they feel fearful as well, or they have no
Mm.
messaging coming, because it's blocked. So when you start meditating, it's going to open it up, and then you just call to do
Mhm.
things.
Yes. I love that because I had a question and you just reminded me of when you just said the samadhi meditation. Um, for the listeners out there, when you're in transcendental spaces such as meditation, this is why meditation is also so important because the mind is so busy running, 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 running that you can't receive
Yeah.
a vision. You can't receive, you can't see, you can't understand because you're so wrapped up in here and spiraling, right? That so for that to happen, you have to be in a transcendental space because that takes practice, for like something that I've learned through tarot reading. As a tarot reader, I empty out in order to receive information to give you as the reader that I'm giving you. So I already know that practice, right? I empty myself out and I receive the download of what what is it that you want to know, right? So the same idea goes for everyone out there. Do the meditation so you can empty out the mind of all the chatter so you can receive what the divine has to tell you, what I think ultimately your higher self, your heart speaking,
Yeah.
and you're not listening because you're so busy up here and we get stuck up there. And I love that you have a chapter on mindfulness. Of course, I was like, oh my God. How, in your experience and helping your clients, I'm sure this is one of the big ones. Like, how can I stop my chatter? How do I get to receive, right? Because even meditation takes a practice, right? Because sometimes the mind won't stop while they're trying to meditate.
That's why, yeah,
Hmm.
that's why is the samadhi meditation so amazing that it's effortless. They just need to listen to the guidance, just need to follow the steps, and then it's just effortlessly takes you there. So people who couldn't meditate before or said that they can't sit still or they hard for them to get relaxed and stuff, this meditation really helps them, and it's just effortless. It takes them to the quiet part. It's like when you are on the beach and everybody's talking around you and it's so loud, and then you suddenly go diving under the water and it's just quiet. It's the same feeling. Like as soon as you
Hmm.
activate the pineal gland, you transcend. It's just like it's just the
Yeah.
chatter is gone. It's just quiet.
Yes.
It's really
Yeah.
great.
It
So
is
if
great.
someone wants to try this samadhi
Hmm.
meditation, they can just join my school community release with ease, and then it's available for everybody in the meditation library with a couple of other meditations there. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, important, very important. Yeah, check it out so that way you get into that space because once you get in there, you're gonna feel, all these voices will stop. No, the self-doubt and the shame and the guilt, it will cease because you start to see the receive that you are important and what you're here for. We need it, whatever that may be. So, let's get into that samadhi meditation. Um, I wanted to get into a little bit about, your travels that you've talked about, right, in your book. You went to from the UK to the Caribbean, Ukraine, Mexico, and then some. And that shaped your growth. Traveling is important for growth, for sure. How has movement and stepping into the unknown accelerated your own healing?
It's interesting because at the very beginning, when I was traveling a lot,
Mm,
I didn't even know I'm sick. I haven't had any issues at the beginning.
mm,
And then actually, I was on one of my travels when I get my panic attacks, my first panic attacks. And
mm,
that's how I started to learn about Reiki. And that's when I was in my 20s. And that's how I started to do like family constellation therapies and all of those things. And then I was a petroleum engineer for like 15 years, and I had 2 kids and get married. So basically, those years was when the spiritual healing was my sanctuary, my hobby only.
right.
And then after one, I felt like really overwhelmed because I was then traveling with my work as well a lot. And then when I was traveling with work again, it was only just able to manage things, but I was always still falling apart. It's like
Yeah.
that decades was really bad. Like in my 30s was like the worst. And then And then when I got into my 40s, then that's when I decided, like, okay, I need to stop the 9 to 5 because I want
Mhm.
to spend more time with my children. I
Mhm.
need a healthy body. I was overweight. I was unhappy. I was really not happy with my life and with myself. And
Right.
then I had lots of guilt and shame, about not being with my kids enough. So I was, working here and there and living in countries, but eventually, how I got better, it was through I became a Reiki master eventually before we moved to New Zealand. So it was the time that when I quit 9 to 5, I decided to do the Reiki master level. And then we moved to New Zealand for a while. And that's when I did a really intense healing on myself. Like every
Mhm.
day I was using the Reiki, the 4 signs, the master signs. And then eventually what happened is after 6 months, I in overnight, like in 24 hours, like I woke up in the morning and then I suddenly couldn't eat certain food groups. Like I knew it. It was like a very powerful programming in my whole system. I can't even know what happened. It was like an activation,
Mm.
effortless. Like I looked at a donut and then I knew I couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
I looked at it like it's a piece of soap or a dog food or something. When you know already that it smells good, it looks good, but it's not for me. Like it's not a food anymore. So that's what happened with lots of food groups in overnight, which was like the sugar, like anything which contains processed sugar, white flour, dairy products, like cheese and all of those things, and alcohol. So these things were like immediately gone, and then it was really profound. It was effortless as well. So I didn't need to um, feel like, oh, I'm still craving those. I wasn't craving those anymore. So felt really lucky. I felt really lucky. I felt really grateful. And then I started to drop like 2-3 kilos every month because of this completely different lifestyle. I had to read the label. I started to read labels, like what it is in here or what's in there, because I can't eat certain things. And then, yeah, I had to figure out what I can eat actually. And still, cooking the same food for my children and whatever. And couldn't I had to do an extra for myself, right? So and then what happened in 10 months, I lost like 20 kilos, which is like 40 pounds. And I was a completely different person, like because I felt so confident. I had high self-esteem. I went from size L to size S. Everybody said like I look like a student or whatever. It was really great. And it was exactly the same time when I also became a contractor engineer, and I had so much time, and then I made double money. And it was already, we moved back to Hungary from New Zealand that time. So it was like that year was really amazing for me, like in growth. And the funny thing was that even though I was happy with my work, and then I was happy with my uh, transformation of my body and everything, I started to feel called to start meditating with people. That was the first time. And then to do like Reiki healings with them, to do like more holistic things. And then, um, when was happening like in the end of the year, and then in 2018 January was when I was first called to come to the Karma Gurus event, when I learned karma yoga healing, the source memory healing, the samadhi meditation. And I wasn't even searching. It was completely accident. Like my Reiki master called me and said, oh, someone is doing this event, can you go there to translate or help them out? I was like, okay, I have time. So I just went there, and then it just like changed my whole life,
Yes.
like that meditation. I did the meditation there the first time, and then amazing synchronicity started to happen, like breadcrumbs
Mm.
everywhere, like visions and everything. It was really powerful. So, and then I learned about the source memory healing later when I decided to do the course, and it was just like healing things from my life really profoundly, and really like I felt flabbergasted. And then I said, oh my God, I need to show this to others. I need to, do this like a business. And then in 5 months time, I just moved to London and established my healing business because I just so felt called to it. That's how it happened.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And it covers a part of your book where you say, be the yes person. Be that yes person. Just say yes. Just something shows up. Okay, let's go. And then,
Yeah.
you're speaking on your life right now and just like, yeah, I said yes to a lot of these things. And this is how I ended up here, right? Because that's part of the trust, saying yes, the faith that you're being led and to a
Exactly.
place where you belong, right? When you're saying yes to your healing, essentially, right? That's what we're saying. When you're saying yes to your healing and all the aspects that come because you're saying yes to your healing,
Yeah.
it'll change. And like she said, in 6 months, a whole new life, weight, looking, everything, right? Because now you've directed all your energy and your focus to healing and
Yeah.
showing up for yourself and having that discipline for yourself, versus the distractions that you were talking about, right? All the
Yeah,
ways
many,
that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, what's the people are don't realize many times that they afraid to stop. They afraid to
Mhm.
stop working. They afraid to stop
Mhm.
being in the society.
Yeah,
When you take yourself
yeah.
out of the society, like go on a sabbatical kind of way, like completely stop that life for a while, that's when magic start happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Like before I went to New Zealand, I made some very wild wishes which were like really weird, like I didn't even believe that they're gonna come true.
Right.
For example, I wished for like working only 2 days a week, not 5 days, like the opposite. And then I wished for like playing tennis during the day when everybody's in the office. I wished for like walking to my office like when I need to go.
Yeah.
And then what happened? We went to New Zealand. We wanted to relocate, but we couldn't because we couldn't get jobs there. We were under the immigration process, but it didn't
Mhm.
happen. So we were guided back, energetically to Hungary. And then I worked for the same company, but not employed, only contractor. And then
Mhm.
it made my life completely easier. And the funny thing, all the three wish came true.
Wow.
We actually find an apartment much closer to the job, so
Mm.
I was walking there, and only twice a week I had to show up, and then I could play tennis at 11 a.m. So it was like, oh my god, I can't believe this. So since then I so much believe in manifestation. I
Yeah.
so much believe in divine interactions. I so
Yes.
much believe in taking time out of the life, like the busy life, the
Mhm.
society's expectations, those matrix kind of thing. If
Mhm.
you take yourself out of there, after you make a wish and you
Yeah.
come back, all comes true.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yes. It is. It is. But part of that, I want to put in when you make a wish or a manifestation, just let it go. You said
Yeah,
it
let it go.
and
Yeah.
let it go. Don't think about it again. Don't touch it with your thoughts and your energy and the oh no and the because it won't.
Yeah,
It
I
will
think,
disrupt the flow that
yeah.
you already put out there.
Yeah, you need to send the message once, and then the
Once.
rest of the days, what you need to do is focusing on feeling joyful,
Yes.
feeling high vibration, feeling like I'm so lucky. If you want to do something on a daily basis for your manifestation, you can visualize.
Mm.
You can maybe see yourself in a certain situation or a certain way. Because I was visualizing myself in my tiny bikini being skinny.
Right.
When I was doing like woke up every morning, I was visualizing that. When I was also doing the Reiki, so probably that's why it happened, the whole shift.
Yeah.
So the visualization is really great. Go into there and just feel it like it's already exists, like you are in that
Yes.
lifestyle. Yeah,
Yeah.
but don't have an expectation of timeline. That's
That's the other one. Right, right. It's
yeah.
not
And
gonna
then
you wish and then tomorrow it happens. That's
yeah. And then the other thing is that you can do is the affirmations. Basically, you can say, I am always winning, or I have a lucky syndrome, or I
yeah,
feel always lucky, or I feel always grateful.
yes,
But that you need to believe it, right? And then
yes.
when you're counting your blessings, you can say like, oh, I'm so grateful for I have a phone, but be also like honest with this gratitude, like
Yeah,
you really are grateful for, little tiny things as well in your life, for the weather or whatever it is. So just be that in gratitude, be grateful, be happy for little things, and that's where raise your vibration and then brings in faster your manifestations.
yes. I love that. Yes, exactly. I love that. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to share with the listener, regarding either the work you do or or something in your book that we didn't cover today? Please feel free to, if you have anything, that you wanted to share.
Actually, I'm not sure when this is gonna be live,
Mhm.
but in December I start an 8 weeks program. It's a group coaching program, and it's December, January. It's going through, and then we're gonna do lots of work on healings, on
Mhm.
ancestral, healings, on manifestation, also like energy healing. So I will combine everything what I do for myself and then what works and really powerful in an 8 weeks, because I have, courses like facilitator training for people who wants to actually do the source memory healing work for their clients, because I used to have like clients coming to me like Reiki masters, and they were like, oh, I love this source memory healing, I love this karma healing, like how can I learn this, I want to show this to my client. And so I created the facilitator training myself, because the guru passed away in 2022. So
Oh,
I couldn't send them to anywhere, like there
right.
was no program for them. And then I was like, okay, no, I need to do this. So actually I created
Mm,
level 1, level 2, and level 3 program for facilitators. So that's one thing which I do. And then also an energy healing program I created as well, the elemental light healer, because also some of my clients said, oh, you are a Reiki master, can you teach me Reiki? And I
right.
was like, I don't want to teach you Reiki, I want to teach you something else, which I actually I'm more passionate about and is more powerful, and then it can help you a lot. And then I actually include there also the protections, energy protections, and more of also practices for feeling yourself with like the light feeling meditation, which I just did in today, and also working with dragon, working with elements. So it includes a lot of energy healing modalities in one training that I also have available, and you can enroll anytime. So it's a recorded training, so people can enroll anytime to that. So these are my offerings basically. And then the school community is always there for everyone. It's a
Right.
free join, and it has a meditation library, the life transformation system courses there as well, and lots of workshops to go through.
Amazing, amazing. And I'll make sure to put all the links so everybody can just click on Spotify, because Apple doesn't allow links. So it'll be on YouTube and Spotify. The links is where usually it's allowed. So that's where I'll have it for anyone who wants to join her group coaching and all the wonderful things that she's offering. And Edith, I really can't thank you enough, first for contacting me and for us to have the first conversation that we had, which was magical. I appreciated our personal conversation and today's personal recording that everyone can now tap in and listen to the wonderful work you do, and the book that you have out now. So if if you find yourself in an economical, just tight budget, you have the book that you can, check it out and see if you can start somewhere and maybe join the group and meditate and start guiding yourself somewhere in between. So I love that Edith has all these different facets to offer wherever you may land in your life right now, or where your pocket may be as well. So I really appreciate you so much for taking the time and sharing your light and your energy with all of us today. It's been just wonderful, truly. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Of course, thank you. And for all the listeners out there, thank you again for collaborating with us today and listening. As always, remember that the breath is the secret, and always do your best to lead with love. And until next time, we will all see you then. Thank you again for joining. Bye.